So welcome everyone in this new session about flying drones and AI. So let's take some altitude, let's get high. Nothing about illegal products, of course. We're gonna speak about drones and also Birdly. We will discover that with you all. Now we're almost on the halfway of this day. So it's for me the occasion as the representative of the Swiss-Chinese Chamber of Commerce to really thank the WXR for these great insights that we have access to today. Right now with Olivier and Aleko. Thank you, Ling, for being also the moderator.
Great pleasure to be here with you today. And as the host from WXR Forum, it is our great pleasure to organize this event with everybody and try to give an insight of the XI generation and what life can be inside this new whole, totally like augmented angle.
Sure. So now we'll introduce all of you, Olivier. So you're the senior communications manager Europe for DJI, and you didn't come alone.
I didn't come alone, so thank you very much for having me in the name of DJI, and I'd like to thank the whole team of World XR and Crans Montana. It's a great tech event here. Very pleased to meet so many passionate people, tech-minded people, and also to be here at your talk. So I did not come alone. That's true. I came with a few of our new products, but let me introduce DJI maybe so that the audience understands what we're talking about.
Sure.
DJI is one of the tech champions that emerged from the Shenzhen scene in China. And we specify in drone technology. That's how it started 15 years ago. Our founder, somebody offered him a helicopter, a RC helicopter, which, the first thing he did, he crashed it against a wall. And he said, well, that's too bad. It's such an expensive toy. What could we do to sustain it in the air? And he started to think about a way of making a flight controller, which is what he made, a flight controller that would stabilize that quadcopter into the air so that it doesn't crash, so that it's like a brain. Let's say if your drone is flying and you've got wind or something is making it moving, it's not moving because you're not asking him to move. So you got the whole safety and reliability that was already, his idea with the flight controller. That was 15 years ago, more or less. Now everybody starts to understand what drones are about. We see them, we buy them. It's a massive hit for Christmas, in the tech industry, and it's only in 2012 that DJI started to build its first off-the-shelf drone, which is the iconic Phantom, this quadcopter, the white drone that you see in every kind of drone signs, and we're very proud that we made it such an icon. DJI is all about these passionate engineers and people dedicated to creative-minded people that were absolutely, wow, this is amazing. This thing can fly and it's stable. And then afterwards, they're like, well, hang on a minute. What if we put a camera on that drone for these creative people? And they were like, wow, I can see the world in a whole different view. And first, we didn't make our own cameras, but we put cameras, and then we said, we need to stabilize the camera because when you shoot, if you've got wind, the camera has to stay perfectly stable and horizontal to what you're filming. And that's where the magic really started to pick up, and people understood where drones and buying it for TV, for cinema, for consumer, and now everybody can buy a drone because they start at $500 or euros or Swiss francs, and they allow you to shoot in 4K and all that stuff. So we are now in this era of consumer drones, but not just consumer drones, but also drones for companies that need tools, that need to have a deported eye into the sky to have a very situational awareness possibility. So think about firefighters, think about agricultures, real estate, archaeologists. I mean, we are discovering every day, how any kind of industry can use drone technology. So not just the consumers, not just the cinema, over media, but also now what we call the enterprise market. And just to finish, we don't do just drones now because DJI is all about innovating. In fact, the I of DJI stands for innovation, and we're very proud of this DNA. We're not like, we don't see ourselves as a marketing company where we put a lot of advertising, but we really invest all our cash into developing new products. So we've got 14,000 employees worldwide with a global presence, and a good quarter of these employees work in R&D. So that's really our focus, and every time we come up with products that did not exist before. So here I brought the Osmo Mobile. That's the OM4, the 4th generation. That's a gimbal where we brought the technology of stabilization in the air to the ground because we said we also need to have, stabilized shots when you're doing some interviews or when you're out in the field. And before you used to have a camera put on a rail, to make that stability. Mm-hmm. And just also to show the baby that I got here, it's the new FPV that we launched last month. So it's the DJI FPV. To mark our 15 years anniversary. It's a very revolutionary way of flying because it's first-person view that you can fly while wearing this mask in high definition, and you can really feel like you're a bird, which is going to make a nice, bridge with Aleko's company, and then the motion controller. So a whole new way of controlling it. So it's you've got built-in gyroscopes within. And if you move your hand, it will follow you like an instinctive way of piloting.
So a total new way to pilot drones and to shoot video. And you also mentioned the application, the concrete applications. We'll go into details during this session. But Ling, can we know more about our other guests today?
Sure. So today we also have Aleko Lilly from Insomniacs. Insomniacs is a startup company based in Zurich, Switzerland. And before joining Insomniacs, Aleko was working in Seattle, USA in positions about business development and sales. Let's welcome Aleko.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having us here and being part of the World XR Forum and the work that we've done together. This is another great extension of it. My company, Insomniacs, we started in 2015. Our CEO, Max Reiner, is a professor at the Zurich University of the Arts, and he started this art project with this idea of immersion and embodiment in VR and figuring out a way to really attack that and really understand it. And he thought, with flight, what better way to do it? Because with most VR, you have some semblance of what you're doing. You've done it before in life. If you're walking and doing VR and that, you know what's wrong, and you can't immerse as well into it because you know what walking's like in the real world. With flight, none of us have done it. It's like a dream. And so he created the Birdly simulator where you're lying on it and you get to achieve this actual dream and fully immerse yourself on the wings of a bird in VR. And interestingly, the company spun out of there, and from what you said, Olivier, about this giving people another way to view things, we're very much, that's what we do as well. We change the way people explore and interact with the world. And so with Birdly, it's by flying over cities and landscapes and going back in time with dinosaurs or going underwater as a sea turtle to experience things in ways that you never could have done and never will be able to do.
Definitely. Actually, today we had the pleasure to have Birdly on exhibition in the nearby lobby. It's a pity that we can't have Birdly because the size of Birdly doesn't fit our shooting room. But still, we have prepared the Birdly video, so for the audience to have a better view of this Birdly device and how it really operates in reality. So now let's show the video. Thank you very much. So personally, actually, I had the pleasure to try Birdly during the confinement. I was a little bit depressed, under the mood, because we were like locked at home for so long, and I had the pleasure to fly with Birdly and see New York, which is one of my favorite cities again. And could you tell us more how Birdly intend to offer new kind of experience of entertainment or like tourism for normal people like me in the XI generation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, initially what Birdly is in VR, where you're traveling to these locations, to cities, and we partnered with the World XR Forum to do a virtual travel lounge this winter, where you could come in and go to 3 different places in 15 minutes and really just get that travel bug out, because you're free to roam around these places and have a new perspective. The longer term growth and future of this is to sort of start taking next steps in the opportunity to actually see those places live. And that's sort of where the idea with drones come in as well, is Birdly has this potential to use a network and to be a type of controller for a live drone and actually take you with your mind into this new place, this place that you've never seen, or give you a tourist experience that you wouldn't be able to do because you need to get on a plane and fly there and do all of those things. So it can really democratize what this aspect of travel and tourism is by giving it to anybody in a short period of time without a huge amount of impact.
Thank you very much. So I heard that DJI started from China, and actually I heard also from Aleko that Birdly is trying to enter the Chinese market. Apparently China is a big player, and it shows such an important role for us to imagine for the future of drone flying, tourism, Birdly. And Olivier, could you give us your opinion on the development of new markets compared with European markets?
It's a fact that China is now a global powerhouse when it comes down to engineering. I mean, look at the Silicon Valley, where it was over the last 50 years. It still is very powerful. But if you look at the new ways of producing in the Silicon Valley and using brains, for me, it's more about intangible intelligence, AI maybe, or all kinds of stuff. Not to talk about the big social networks that we all know. China gradually became, the new Silicon Valley in Shenzhen. And when you go to Shenzhen, it's very remarkable to see now that this city that did not exist a couple of decades ago is building any kind of consumer electronics that we're using, and the engineers are now all, the powerhouse again is really, really powerful. So, and then again, China is such a big market that when you want to go there, of course, it does make sense. And I know that you are already very successful with your product, Birdly, which is really cool, by the way, and it totally makes sense. Yeah.
China is embracing these new technologies, really finding a concrete way to apply them. For example, agriculture. In China are using, the farmers, they're using a lot the drones, when in Europe we were still a bit late on embracing these kind of new technologies, right?
That's a good point. In fact, we have a DJI agriculture drone branch. So think about spray drones that will help you to go into the crops and do what we call precision agriculture. So here we're in Switzerland, and in fact we hosted an event here for European media to see these drones flying over the vineyards that you've got in Lavaux, because it's a mountain area. It's kind of difficult to go. Drones are actually a good solution. And China is really embracing technology maybe a little bit faster than, say, in Europe in general. That said, in Switzerland, I would like to say it's a bit of a promised land for drones, because it's very open-minded. You have a lot of startups, 2 big ecosystems in Zurich, in Lausanne with a PFL as well. And we really like to see this energy here with all these engineers and creative and legislation that is living in our century, if you know what I mean, in terms of not too restrictive and letting, for instance, drone technology and other kind of technology develop.
Yeah, and I heard that drone usage is actually not limited only to commercial, but you are also doing something good for the humanity in Africa. Could you tell us your story about fighting malaria?
Yeah, I think you saw that story. Again, every day we are discovering new ways of using drones, and in that particular case that you're mentioning, some scientists who are specialized in malaria, which is the biggest disease ever. So when you think about COVID, when you think about any kind of big disease, really malaria by far is number one. And the funds allocated in fighting this disease are just huge, because there's a huge problem in Africa. but also in Southeast Asia, for instance. And wherever you've got rice paddies and mosquitoes, there's a problem. And some scientists, very serious ones that are very competent, came to us and came to some government in Tanzania, in Zanzibar, to do an experiment. And we were happy to contribute to this. And this experiment was about flying drones and spraying some liquid that would make the larva, extinguish the larva of the rice fields, which means no mosquitoes and less malaria, healthier people. Yeah, I mean, it's a circle that is, of course, very good for everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think you're really doing something good for the whole humanity, and I would take this opportunity to thank you for contributing to the sustainable development in the future.
Thank you.
Aleko, Birdly, this is more on the entertaining aspect, the tourism, the discovery, the dream even. What kind of other applications can we find to Birdly in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely mostly entertainment, education, and giving people this chance to explore in new ways. But within that, there are a lot of different ways to do it. And we work with smart cities a lot in terms of giving both the people who are creating data in smart city environments and also the people who are doing smart city projects more governmentally. We give them this bridge between what they're creating on one side and how they communicate it to the people who need to understand it on the other side. Birdly works really well in general as this communication device and a way for people to emotionally connect and actually understand why things are important. Whereas, going into a visitor center, whether it's to explain a smart city project or explain why a company is doing something or how things work, you can look at pictures and read a story and you might remember some of it. But when you get on a Birdly and you actually fly through the physical experience, whether it's a city or computer code or something totally made up that needs to be shown, you actually emotionally connect with that. And then you understand why it's important and impactful, and you're more likely to do something on that end as well.
Where are we going to find the Birdly simulator in the future?
Anywhere. I think, you'll find it in private companies, you'll find it at tourist locations, you'll find it in airports, you'll find it at museums, potentially someday you'll find it at home, where you can actually fly around the world and have these experiences and bring them into your house. So the sky's really the limit. A lot of it is, it's as technologies develop that we can work with in terms of drones, what happens there, how 5G is connected so that we can create a connectivity through the network as well, so people can share Birdly experiences at the same time. So we're working with all of those technologies, and I think the next couple of years we'll really see this explosion in how it goes from just, this amazing flight simulator with really cool VR experiences in more traditional locations to these all kinds of other applications and experiences.
So where do you see yourself, let's say Insomniacs or Birdly, in the year of 2030, let's say?
Yeah, we're a small company now. We're 12 employees, so nothing like DJI yet. But I think we will have a lot more employees by then. We'll have a much bigger reach, and we generally think more at 2025 right now, but 2030, I think you'll see this ecosystem of XR and VR experiences that allow people to wherever they are to do whatever they want to do ultimately. And so you'll find Birdly's and this whole ecosystem around, and we hope to be driving that.
Fantastic. I think the same question goes to Olivier as well. So where do you see DJI in the future?
So it's a good question. In fact, our slogan is the future of possible. So it's not sky the limit, could be, but the future is possible. And if I would tell you how I'd see DJI in the future, I would be creative. But in fact, that's exactly what we intend to be.
Doing.
Just the drone technology and all the stuff that we are developing is moving so fast. And think about what we got now. I mean, when I was 18, there was the internet around, but I didn't have a smartphone in my pocket. I didn't have, there was no cars with autonomous driving. There were no drones like ours that go somewhere quite far away and come back alone and land exactly at the point where it took off. And detects obstacles and all that kind of stuff. And VR, of course, and all this stuff. In 20 years, I mean, this is really crazy. Just to summarize that, we did a video 4 or 5 years ago where we invited artists to imagine what the drone of their dream would be. And because they're artists, they're quite creative, and they were like, oh, that's a drone that I'd be able to control with my hand. And this drone would follow me. And it was like science fiction 5 years ago. 2 years after, we made that, and we sold it to everybody for $800. You could buy a drone that you can control with your hand, just like a Jedi can control a saber. That is 20. And when you do that show, people are really impressed. This AI and everything that you can do with it is really phenomenal. And it's a very good question. What the future? What are we going to develop? Of course, we're working on it daily, especially this year because it's our 15th anniversary. So stay tuned, and we hope that we'll excite you even more this year.
Congrats on your anniversary.
Thank you.
I suggest that we now open the question to the audience.
Yes.
I would really, really like to know when I'm going to have a drone who comes to pick me up and brings me somewhere, and I don't own the drone, I just call him, he comes, and I can go somewhere, and this would be great. When does it come?
Okay, so I guess I'll answer, but you're talking about drone taxis. It's a big, a lot of people are talking about this. Unfortunately, we do not do everything at DJI. We leave space for other people to express themselves, and this is not the area that we are working on. But of course, this is coming. This is promising technology. Just think about when you're landing with a plane. Sometimes it's shaking, and you need a lot of space to land. But if you come with a very stable drone and just hover and go down like this, I mean, when you compare to a helicopter or to a plane, you can think that there's really room for drone taxi. But again, that's not something that we are doing at DJI at the moment, at least.
But do you have an idea when it's going to be thinkable?
Well, the actors are promising it to be very quickly available, but it's not. It has to be verified. It has to be very safe because again, when you're flying, it's all about safety. There is no room for uncertainties. So your technology needs to be 100% proven, just like autonomous driving. It needs to be safe and it needs to be reliable, and then then things can move forward, just like the aviation was doing 100 years ago. Okay. And we're at that phase right now.
If I'm not mistaken, the city of Paris is working on drones transfers for the Olympic Games. Mm-hmm. And well, let's see in 2024 if this comes to reality.
That's right.
Sure.
I'm seeing you guys here, and I think it's wonderful because you are two of the most innovative companies I know, one from Switzerland, creating these unique simulators. I mean, I tried numerous simulators around the globe, and what you guys created is one of a kind. And same with DJI. And I kind of see, en plus, under the patronage of Philippe from the Swiss Chamber of Commerce, Ling, I see a perfect marriage here. if you see, this is the glacier here, La Plaine Morte, in Crans-Montana, which is quite fantastic. And this is in Guangdong province, a bit north of Shenzhen, the same province as Shenzhen. Two pretty spectacular locations. And I want to throw an open invitation to Frank Wang right now to come to Crans-Montana and meet Max Reiner and discuss about that, because what I would like to see, and I think it's possible with your two companies combined, it's very easy to make it happen. Have a commercial flight between Crans-Montana and Shenzhen where you can live fly with your drones and their simulator. In Crans-Montana, you could fly there in Guangdong. In Guangdong, you can fly here in Crans-Montana. And again, I want to throw this open invitation right now under the eyes and the patronage of the Swiss China Chamber of Commerce to have this happening for real. It's an invitation.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea. Just to make a confidence, I was familiar with Birdly before I was familiar with DJI, because I tried your Birdly back in 2014 or 15, just at the beginning, and I think it's really, really fascinating. And there's definitely, bridges that we could try to build together, because it's quite complementary, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think absolutely. We're looking at technology like yours, and and how we can integrate that, and I think there's definitely conversation to be had. And and that kind of thing.
So we'll pass the word to our
Yeah.
management and
Exactly.
R&D and see if something can
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, let's see.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I see our arranged marriage is kind of seeing a happy ending here.
We
Okay.
haven't known each other that long, but
Okay. Thank you very much again for joining us today.
Thank you, Ling.
Thank you. It's
And
a
thank you for
great
bringing
pleasure
us
to be
here
here.
together. as well.
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merci.
Merci.